Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television, special Arcane episode for Season 2, Episodes 4 through 6.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
And this is our episode covering Arcane, Season 2, Episodes 4 to 6. By chance you've fallen in here watching us on YouTube or listening to the audio at this point, do know that we've been doing podcasts covering the show in 3 episode sets to match the release schedule. So this one, we're recording it just a couple of days after they aired, so we won't have any knowledge of any future stuffs, but anything up through episode 6 of season 2 will be fair game for us to be talking about here, folks. And these episodes specifically are episode 4, Paint the Town Blue, episode 5, Blisters and Bedrock, and episode 6, Message Hidden Within the Pattern. Now, what we try to do, if you listen to our regular podcast, as you know, we give episodes ratings based on how much we enjoy them, with a fun system there where we do things like, let it sit, maybe skip it, watch it soon, watch it now, some ratings in between. So I've been doing a better job making notes to try to give the episodes ratings. For me, 4, 5, and 6 here, I'm going to go very high, watch it soon, very high, watch it soon, and low, watch it now. You folks want to chime in with your ratings real quick before we start talking?
Yeah, I'm going to go low, watch it now, low, watch it now, watch it now.
Wow. Last week I was different from you two. This week Kevin's the oddball. I'd say first one's high, watch it soon for me, then low, watch it now, and then the finale, or I call it the finale, the finale of this trilogy is a watch it now.
Gotcha. And I understand. I'll explain a little of my ratings, I think, as we start to talk about this a bit as we go around on it. We'll try to start off here with some general thoughts, and I'm reminding myself, don't go too deep so that we can all have a turn going round. Wow. Okay, if I want to try to be as concise as possible, wow, and, WTF, and thank God I had a big box of tissues nearby. I mean, this was quite the emotional hit, both in a positive way for 5 and then in a bummer way at the end of 6. But we are still going gangbusters. I think some of my ratings being a little lower for me, even though I absolutely adored and love this, is that it's just moving, I think, a bit too fast with only 3 episodes left with some of the things that happened in here. But, it's still great to see a lot of the things happening. Some of the characters are still, very minimal. Mel, all we got is crazy murderous Jace. We haven't seen Heimerdinger or Echo. Wonder when they're coming back. So there's a lot of that disjointed feel, but goodness gracious, loving all the stuff is, Jinx and Vi back together, and Jinx and Isha, and those parallels, in terms of older, younger sister. Vander being in there. Wow. I mean,
and remember,
Caitlin,
these are Kevin's general thoughts, guys.
Yeah, these are the quick ones. So that's
the quick thoughts.
I'm only hitting a few of the points. That's all I wanted to do. It's just so much. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, there is a lot. First, I'm going to say time jump. Called it.
You did. You did.
You did.
Because they're paralleling season 1. They continue to parallel season 1, which I appreciate. Loving the Vander payoff, explanation here. That we have the Savika trying to fill the gap of Silco, Jinx very clearly not filling the gap of Silco, but very attached to him. That was some great stuff there. All of this redirection of energy onto Isha, that sibling relationship that happens. I was very pleased to see that we had all the Jinx and Vi sibling reconnection. I wasn't sure where they were going when we had talked previously about that bit. Sad to see Caitlin's journey, but very happy at the end to find out that, she wasn't as far gone as we might have thought. And I rank these really high, but I actually have a lot of dings to talk about, which Kevin mentioned a couple being a little disjointed with some of our characters. And I need somebody to explain what is that place or places where we see Jace go, we see Victor go, is the place where Mel completely different. It looks completely different, but lots of stuff going on. Enjoyed all of it a lot, despite all my questions.
I think I got the assignment wrong. I just wrote down 3 lines for my overall general thoughts. I didn't know we were summarizing the episodes.
Can't stop ourselves. Brent, save us.
I did note picking up after time. Not sure how long, maybe 6 months. I don't know. It kind of felt about like 6 months ish. I don't know exactly how long went by. I noticed opposite you, Kevin. To my mind, these were slower paced. You said everything happened too fast. I think everything happened pretty slow in these, and I think that's expected. The middle trilogy tends to do that in any story. If you got a middle of a story, it tends to be a little slower than the beginning and the ending. And there were crazy dramatic changes that I did not see coming, and as you said, very, very emotional. Teared up a couple times at various points, and that's all I put in my overall thoughts for the thing. There's a lot of details I've got in each episode, but I think we'll cover those later.
Okay.
Or now.
I know we're gonna need a timer clock or something to keep Wendy and I under control, since you did a good job of just hitting highlights. But that's okay. We get to it all the way through. I mean, I do want to show off my new shirt here.
Oh no,
Ooh,
Arcane
shiny.
shirt.
Nope. I had to get it in a blue shade too, and I noticed you both were in blue. That's nicely done there. Nicely done. Sticking.
Where'd
with
you get
opening.
that? Where's it available?
I can give you a link. It was online. I don't remember exactly where I found it.
It's an official one though.
I have no idea. I'll be honest with you. I did see a beautiful Jinx sweatshirt, hooded one, available online that looks official, but also a very high price tag. So might have to wait on that one.
Maybe her universe has some stuff. So who knows?
No, that's a good idea too. Good idea.
Full disclosure, my colors are because of my football team, not because of this show.
Yes, following up on the Bills victory.
It is Victory Monday for
Good
the
work.
Bills Mafia.
Yes. We get that. Yeah, I mean, highlights, get comfy. I mean, how much I followed what Brent said, just to kind of follow up on the conversation there. Episode 4 was, shall we say, slower pace, I thought, in terms of, picking up from where we were at the end of Ep 3, and setting up some of the things that are happening with, Isha getting taken along with everybody else at the rally. So that gives Jinx the push to be able to step out in front now and do a little more. Highlight wise, that was great to kind of see her, very much the reluctant hero, air quotes. And very interesting to see when she was there with Savika to break folks out of Stillwater there, the whole idea, hey, the big hero's here, and everybody just being very quietly respectful and acknowledging that was kind of cool to see. That was certainly really good there. If I kind of go episode by episode, I mean, the very end with the showdown with Jinx and the Beast, as it is called at that point, and having Jinx be just to that point when she realizes she's not going to be able to win the fight, to get ready for one of her little monkey bombs, and it's actually that the Vander inside of the Beast recognizes and says powder. I mean, that was very cool stuff there. And there's so much. I mean, episode 5, I loved some of the dialogue when they're in the mine shaft. I mean, the sisterly back and forth, one up in each other, complaining about each other, and then finally it's like, in my mind, I'm like, you two just need to have a knockdown drag out, and there they go to do it. That was just very, very sibling based. The emotional scene, I'm not kidding. I had to pause. I had to pause, man. That was so heartwarming.
Screen got blurry for you, did it?
Yeah, it got blurry, and like I said, I'm glad that box of tissue was by. So, I mean, there's some quick thoughts on the first episode and a half. I don't want to monopolize things. What about you folks?
So first episode, I I really liked the whole Jinx and Isha doing the cage match thing. And because at first I was thinking we had this time jump, I was like, whoa, is she really gone crazy? Yeah. And and then it turns out to be her inner life that we're seeing. And it turns out that these are two little guys. But I liked how that was a connection between the two of them that they kept coming back to across the episodes. When she shows up and frees her, she talks about we have to go continue our cage match. And I really liked when she and Savika go to the prison, we had really interesting cross-cutting between the two of them making their slow plan to break in. I thought it was hilarious when Jinx appears to the Enforcer and the Enforcer's like, yeah, right, you're not Jinx. Look at those crazy clown pants you have on and all that piece. And then the, well-trodden trope of, pretending to bring in Savika.
Aren't you a little short to be an Enforcer?
Yeah, super.
Very appropriate.
But then it was a beautiful moment when she breaks everyone out and they all come and they touch her on the shoulder to acknowledge her and give respect. That was just a beautiful scene. And then it immediately switches to the beast is coming. And I liked the visual effect they used for seeing things through the eyes of the beast as he's tracking through the town to get there. And then when he gets there, and then when you hear Vander's voice say powder, that was just a wonderful way to end that episode.
Little do we know that was just the storyboarding. They didn't have time to do the animation, so they just left the storyboards in there. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of looked that way, though. The notes I took here, of course, opening up as the Big Vi Caitlyn shipper, I was like, what the heck? Why is she in bed with Maddie? Yeah, that came out of nowhere. I mean, Maddie had admiration and was in awe of Vi, but I didn't see anything between her and Caitlyn. And then all of a sudden they're in bed together. So that was kind of a shock. It was interesting that Maddie was very loving and tender towards Caitlyn, but Caitlyn was just kind of sitting there, just cold, because she had so much on her mind and was distracted. I did note that Jinx is laying low and doesn't want to be Jinx anymore, and she even says the words "Jinx is dead," which I thought was very interesting. Even right after she told Isha that she used to have another name, she used to be called Powder, but Jinx is dead. So what are you now? You're not Powder. Mm-hmm. You said Powder's dead. Powder's gone. Powder's an old name. Jinx is dead. What are you? That's kind of a theme for these 3 episodes, almost trying to Jinx / Powder trying to find her way, who she is. Again. I did find it interesting that Mel's mother was very upset that she finally takes control of this place and all the scientists are gone now. So she can't get the hex tech she wants. So she's trying to work with other scientists to reinvent these discoveries. And of course it doesn't go so well. And I also did love the fact that Isha is trying to continue the name of Jinx. So she's pretending to be her. And then, of course, you guys talked about it, the whole arrest, and then who's the Vander / Wolfman / I think they even in the credits gave him a name of Warwick, I believe, or not in the credits necessarily, in the captions. But coming to the prison and all of that. And I love Jinx telling Savika to get Isha to safety. And she's going to fight it. And then Savika's like, you really are. And she's like, yeah, big, whatever hero. Whatever she said to her. So that first episode was very powerful. And the ending, as you mentioned, was amazing when I did not expect it to be Vander either. That was shocking. I know that watching some reactors after the fact, some of them had been talking about that. Even leading up to that scene, they were like, it kind of looks like Vander if he was a Wolfman. And I'm like, that didn't even occur to me, but it was a very pleasant surprise and very emotional.
Yeah, there was a couple other small things early that I really appreciated. I mean, the idea of Isha getting, her hair dyed blue because her bug won, that was what she wanted.
That was the bet.
That was, so little things like that. And like Wendy said, in terms of, just the whole relationship, they also did a great job in that first episode of doing the parallel scenes, when we see Caitlin putting out a candle at the statue for her mother, they're putting one out near the mural, of where we have, Echo, Vi, and everybody up on that mural there. And then also we see Savika Evander's statue. So reminding us of some of those other characters, I thought that was well done to keep us grounded with the losses that have occurred too, leading up to all that was pretty good too. It was a little thing too at the time, but it tied into all the stuff was when they broke everybody out of the prison, just the almost panic on Jinx's face as she's going cell to cell trying to find her there. And then the huge hug again. All that emotional build up to what's going to happen later, man. Just gotta tell you, in a rewatching to make some notes and rewatching 4 and then seeing that and thinking what's coming in 6 and like, damn.
Yeah. The other thing I really liked was when Jinx tells her, I have to go talk to somebody, and she goes into Selko's office, and they had that great effect with the chair, which I didn't realize that was the back of the chair until the chair spins around. That was a really well choreographed scene of her. And then that's really the point at which she says, well, I'm finally accepting that you're dead, and now I need to move on out of that room, out of that space. And actually they do after that. So that was a really beautiful little scene also.
Yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, this isn't really part of any given episode, but I wanted to answer a question I think that Wendy had about what happened to Heimerdinger and to Echo. And I got the impression, before we dive into the next episodes, throughout this whole thing, that Victor is seeing Sky not only in the quote unquote real world, but in this other place. I am of the belief, and I have some other actors that I watched also have this belief, that when Sky was dissolved during that experiment or whatever that Victor was doing, she merged with him. She became part of him. Her essence, her soul, whatever you want to call it, is part of him. And I think that's what happened to Heimerdinger and Echo. And I think that's why Jace is so schizophrenic and kind of crazy, is that all three of them live inside his body right now. That's just my view.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, also at the very end of 6, when he's getting, not very end, but near the end of episode 6, when he's getting ready to basically, kill Victor, he's saying, or he does say, I won't fail. I swear it. Like he's talking to someone, or he's making good on a promise or something. So,
yeah, like Heimerdinger. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something we got to eventually, hopefully, find out about, to understand that a little better, because that was just so jarring, and you knew it as a viewer for a show that's got so much tragedy and so much challenge for the characters. And when, everyone's starting to feel pretty comfortable, looking a little happy, that we're going to have a radical shift, to kind of bring us back to where we've been gone. So it's a lot, and to their credit, I thought it was done pretty well. I mean, the setup in 5, with Vi basically joining, her own fight club, going total emo, total everything in black, just,
oil slick.
Well, yeah. I mean, just basement. I mean, as they say, living in what looked like a closet at most. And I love the way, talking about that she's having visions of seeing Caitlin and Jinx and other things. And then when it cuts to her in the room and Jinx is actually there, it was quite a nice surprise. Because at first, the first few seconds, I'm like, just another hallucination. But pretty cool thing. And a little touch there. I loved how Jinx had written her name, right under her eye, like Vi. Little touches like that come through in a rewatch just make for a lot of fun.
Yeah, the reversal was great between Vi and Jinx at that moment, because Jinx clearly knows what she's been doing. And then she just finally went to see her because of Vander. And, Vi is really, in the basement in a terrible place. And that was a great montage that they did. They chose really interesting music for that. I want to go back to Brent's comment about Jace, because Victor, when he's with Sky in that other world, makes a comment that there's another presence with Jace, which was an old magic presence, something that was chaos. He called it chaos. And so I think Heimerdinger and Echo are someplace else. That's not my ding, is that we haven't explained what happened to them. We just pretend they're not there. Like, there hasn't even been any mention of them, which to me, there should be characters saying, gee, it'd be really great if Echo were here right now, or Heimerdinger. So that's my ding around how they've handled that. It's okay that we're not seeing them in this part of the story, but they're just erased right now, to then be brought back out of nowhere. So it's that disjointedness that we talked about a little bit. The other thing that was really interesting in this episode, which I didn't entirely realize it the first time I watched 4, was Singed deliberately did not escape. He put himself in a place that he was going to be found by Ambessa, and makes this deal because he wants to get his beast back, and we find out about his larger plan to undo death with his, I'm assuming that's his daughter.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was interesting. And then when Caitlin, went back to Mom's library and figured out who he was, that he was another discredited scientist that created Shimmer. So it was nice to see those pieces come together. It was also great little foreshadowing about sort of the cracks between Caitlin and Ambessa in terms of their uneasy alliance that's going on. So I really like that.
And that was your episode 5 comments?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a few that I wanted to mention in episode 5. You guys talked about the Vi, the new Vi look, and Jinx, basically there when she wakes up and telling her that Vander's alive and her not believing, but going anyway. I love that, and I love the line that she gives, that Jinx gives to Vi, that Vi later on gives to Jinx in that very emotional moment, which is, he's your father too, or he's your dad too. I love that line. He's your father too. That was great. I love the flashback, learning that Vander's the one who named Vi. I always liked the name Violet. Seeing their mother, more than just as a dead body or whatever we saw in episode 1, when the enforcers killed her. I love that quite a bit. She, as soon as I saw her at the jukebox and turned around, I'm like, she looks a lot like Jinx. Yeah. Is there a reason for that?
It's a great thing in animation. You can make them all look the same.
There's a reason.
And I love the hair. I love the hair color too.
Yeah.
I mean, purple. So it works with the red and the blue.
Mixture.
I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was in the scene where each time they were mentioning some of those things, I was getting just a little more of the hairs in the back of my neck, like getting a chill from the name that he mentioned to the three of them, to being together to create Zahn and everything. Like, oh man. And it just makes you appreciate more of what happened in season 1.
Yeah, and they're getting along just fine. Silco's along for the ride. He's part of the plan. He wants to build this utopia as well, whatever they want to call it down there. I also like seeing Mel, and I think it's pretty clear she's the child that was of mixed origin and is now full of magical power, and see her explode with that magical power when she's being imprisoned. I love that bit from that episode. You talked about Dr. Revik, which is his name, I guess, Singed, being the creator of Shimmer. That was interesting to learn, that he actually invented it. I mean, I know in season 1 we saw him, I think, giving it to Silco and stuff, but I didn't know that he actually had created it. That the letter that Vander had written to Silco that Jinx wonders if he had ever read, things could have been so different. We're getting that more of the Jinx evolution of her character and trying to figure out who she is. And I just, and the fight and the everything at the end, the embracing and all of that stuff. But the the very end with Jace coming back. We talked briefly about Jace being back, but the fact that he just so cold bloodedly killed that councilman, just smashed him to bits, I guess. Wow. He's not the same guy. Something's happened.
Yeah.
He's been through some stuff.
Stuff.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we're going to learn what it was.
And the talking about the letter, what actually hit me harder was when Jinx saw the jackets and saw Silco's and took and
went
had
over and smelled it.
Yeah, trying to bring back someone who's gone. I mean, that was boy, that was pretty powerful. I mean, these little, and they're not little, but these things that just pay off when you're really paying attention and appreciating what it all means. But yeah, from bawling my eyes out about the reunion there in the mine, and then cutting, like you said, Brent, to that scene in the Hextech room, or whatever we want to call it, and how
Hextech server room.
Server room. There we go.
Yeah.
The wild room too, where and then and Victor's able to speak through Sallow. I mean, because it's all connected or whatever. I mean,
which is foreshadowing for what happens later in the next episode.
And the impact.
Plugged in.
Yeah.
So speaking of that,
before we go on to that, I want to go back. So, because I want to definitely give a shout out for the animation for the flashback, because they did a beautiful job of creating something that was dreamlike. It was in the past. It was softened significantly. So, it was, a beautiful memory that was very much evoked by the animation itself, how soft all those characters were drawn. That whole palette was a little bit softer. And, that really helped build up the emotion around what we learned about the family in the past. And then when we had that reunion. So that was a really important piece for me about what they did so well with the storytelling in that part.
And one thing about that flashback that I found very rewarding, or I appreciated from the writers, was getting a better feeling for why Vander stepped in to be their stepdad, basically, their surrogate dad. Before I just assumed, okay, well, he must have known their parents and they're orphans, so he brought him in. He's caring, he's a loving guy. But to see that there was that close of a connection to their mother and to their parents, and also that the mother basically got the two of them, Vander and Silco, to essentially promise that they would build a future for the kids, for all of their kids, ties into it too. So now I really understand his motivation for why he did what he did.
Yeah, and even more so too, because we're going to get in 6 when Victor is trying to, help or cure the beast, Vander, that we get some of those slightly different, like you're saying, Wendy, flashbacks of them as kids, in a different style, just enough to recognize it, know who they are, slightly different, different memories, and to know they're still in there to make us understand it's truly Vander. It's just, and then, like you said, you throw in all the visuals they created for the beast, the idea, everything's in red and it's dark and it's moving fast and chaos and all that. It's balancing all of that is just beautiful, beautiful work.
Did you want to go into the next episode, Kevin, at all? Or?
No, I think we should end right here.
Hey, don't want to hear about the last episode, huh?
I mean,
I sad.
I know. Well, and on the rewatch of episode 6, I did not grasp the first time through, because I mean, when I'm watching it the first time, I do not take notes. I don't have subtitles on. I just want to have a kind of watch over. And the opening, we get Victor, which basically is a flashback to what's going to happen at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same. Same moment again.
Yeah, so it's another indication that time is very fluid for him, apparently. So, so that was one that I just didn't register on the first watch through, because we're hearing this whole thing about, and as you're saying, he and Sky talking about singularities and self-annihilating and all this very ethereal stuff. Again, more meaning once we get near the end and see what's going to happen there. So it's one of those ones, hits different. as you're coming back through it. But I mean, so many lines here too in this episode that come through with Victor talking about powder. Your talents can be used here to build instead of destroy.
That might be foreshadowing.
Yeah, that was really something. Yep. I mean, I love the daughters, two of them, their recollection, talking about remembering mom and dad.
Yeah.
And that the memory of their mother is, the same thing. I mean,
axle grease.
Axle grease.
These are things gave me chills kind of stuff, they make it so real. I just, whew.
Well, I loved when they showed up at the commune or whatever it's called. And, Isha's very protective of Vander when, because he gets startled by something that happened and kind of reacts. And then when they go to, they're told the Herald's been waiting for you to reinforce that whole timey-wimey aspect of Victor. And then when he knows his name, he knows Vander's name, he told me his name. I really like the style that they used for whenever he's mind melding with Vander as well. And I'm curious if we're going to find out. You talked earlier, Brent, about what is Sky, because she's only visible when he's in the other place, whatever that.
She was visible in the real world too, at one point.
Yeah, a couple of
in this episode.
Times.
Yeah, in this episode.
She's been standing right at his shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah, but I just assumed that was a projection. I didn't assume she was real.
I don't think he's imagining her. I think she's part of him somehow.
Okay. That could be. But I liked how, Victor is also realizes, helping Vander might kill him, but it's worth it to do it. He talks about that, I think, with Singed later on when he comes to visit as well. I was surprised how quickly Mbessa shows up with her and Caitlin show up to the same place. That was surprising. It kind of felt a little bit rushed, but to me, the best parts of that episode that were the not horribly sad parts was, healing Vander and then having the sisters talk, and Vaya's like, hey, maybe this is a place we could stay and hang around. And Jinx is like, you're asking my opinion. So they're having a nice sort of mutual respect for each other. And as sisters, it's not the big sister, little sister dynamic. We have that with Jinx and Isha, but they're really coming to be more of peers who respect each other. I also think it's really interesting that we haven't had a Jinx episode. Like we had one in the first, in 4, when she learns that Isha's gone, been taken. We didn't have one at all in 5 that I recall. And we didn't really have one in 6. So I'm going to be expecting a big one, assuming Isha's dead and Vander are dead, which, to be confirmed. But I'm going to be really curious if that pushes her off the edge or how that plays out.
It's interesting that you said you thought that Caitlin and Mel's mom got there so fast. I was thinking it took them forever because we had the scene where Singed tells them that he can track Vander. And then we have a montage, which looks like it's over many, many days of Victor working with Vander. And then they arrive. And I was thinking, wow, why did it take you guys so long to get here? That's kind of the impression I had. But I don't know if we want to go into the whole episode because there's a lot more in it. Maybe we'll save the ending for another round of us talking about it. I'll talk about earlier parts in this episode. But I did find it interesting that Caitlin was working so closely with Mel's mom and training with her. And I saw one reactor say this, and I think in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense that, we find out in this episode that Caitlin never really trusted her, always knew she was trying to manipulate. So I'm thinking that, in hindsight, she's training with her mom because she's trying to learn more from her. Not that she's trying to become her protege or something, or she's bought into the BS. She hasn't. By the way, not buying into the BS, it was good to find out that the big drinking buddy of Vi's, the enforcer, when he walked off, he went to go with her and basically was taking care of Vi and dragging her home and stuff. That was good in the last episode. But yeah, you guys talked about the foreshadowing of being told, Victor telling Powder, referring to her by that name, which kind of startled her for a second, about how she can build, and either build and use her passion and her abilities to build or destroy, or build instead of destroy. And she's like, "Oh, I'll stick with what I know best,"
Mm-hmm.
But I love Singed. I didn't love it, but I mean, it was very interesting. His proposal to Victor of we can combine the apex form of Shimmer in Vander with the apex form of Hextech, you. And Victor's like, no, that's not what we're going to do. I'm going to save this man. I just love that about him. But there's so much more after this. I'll talk about, before the build-up, my favorite part, of course, being the Caitlyn Vi shipper. The part where Caitlyn jumps Vi. Uses some of those tricks that Mel's mother taught her in the fighting. But then the turnaround at the end when we find out that it's a trick, I just really adored. And then the little flashback that we got of the two of them talking about their plan. Because once Caitlyn still loves Vi, and Vi still loves Caitlyn, clearly, because in episode 5 she's constantly seeing her and thinking about her. But once Caitlyn finds out that this beast that they're hunting down is Vi's father, you don't have to convince her anymore. She's like, okay, now's the time. We're gonna do this. We're gonna set this right. We're gonna make this right. So I still love Caitlyn. It reinforces why she's my favorite character. But I think we want to go around, Kevin, talking about the finale part of the final episode. Or do you? Maybe you just forget it happened. And
No, I do.
I
do. One other point I want to make kind of before we get there that I appreciate too is very much watching. I don't know what we want to say, the eventual, hopefully redemption, but certainly the growth and the change in Jinx was the point when they, Caitlyn and Vi had their plan. They were working, and Jinx is just kind of hanging out, waiting for it to play out. And each comes back with her gun, got a gun for her. But she's very honestly talking to her and said that she's had some time to think, and that ever since, she dropped into her life, it's like I put on glasses, except I can't tell whether everything is blurry or clear, and you can just tell. The fact that Jinx would spend time thinking and not just being totally, schizophrenic and all the other things that might have been happening is just showing how much impact,
She just make that funny point of telling Savika earlier that thinking is not your strong suit.
Yeah, I know.
Savika's like, I've been thinking. And that's not your strong suit.
Not your strong suit, but the fact that this character who hasn't spoken a word had such an impact on her and us as viewers,
and may never speak a word.
No,
depending on what happened.
Yeah,
just power. It's powerful stuff. Once you saw everything going to hell. And all, and once the beast, smacked Jinx down, and you could see just over her shoulder, again, beautiful animation, just over her shoulder was little issue, and it's like, oh no. The facial expressions, I just want to point out here. When she started running, it's because she loves Jinx so much, it's the concern, you can, or at least for me, I could see, concern for her, then anger, protect her. And then there was like this peace that just came over her. Like she realized what she could do to help. Yeah. And it just, the animation and all. Wow.
The little finger pistol back at Jinx.
Oh my God.
Before she did it. Oh
God.
Yeah.
She actually did say a word. She said the sound. She made the poo sound. The pow.
Yeah, she said the pow sound.
Yeah.
I really liked how they set all that up. They did a great job of, when they're at the gates and it's like, put your weapons down. And She, goes back and gets the crystal.
Yeah.
And then later when she goes back to get the gun, but you could see that she was very much in that protecting, hedging kind of mode the whole time. She was the protector of Vander as well. And she was embraced as part of that family unit as well. And there was just a ton of parallels with her and Jinx in season 1 around trying to help, right? She was doing the same thing with pretending to be Jinx, doing the stunts. And it was great to see how her helmet and her goggles, they're slowly transformed through the episode. And then she has that resignation and determination once she realizes that the beast Vander's gone, and this beast is going to destroy the one person she really cares about. And they did a great job again with visualizing their relationship in her mind, right? It's this very childlike, much brighter colors, the joyful jumping off that they were doing, in all of those images, Jinx is smiling and happy in her, memory of their relationship. So that just made it so poignant that, we literally see this flashing before our eyes as she's, making this suicide run. It was just beautiful.
Yeah. This sacrifice. And yeah, part of it was, I think, you all talked about it. Part of it was protecting Jinx because Jinx had just been smashed and was hurt. But I think if she was trying to protect Jinx, she could have just grabbed Jinx and started to run with her. But I think it was a combination of things. I think Jinx had put inside her a feeling of, because of what Jinx did for her, of protecting people. So it wasn't just protecting Jinx; it was protecting everybody. I think that made Isha make this decision. But it was also, in a weird way, protecting Vander, because she knew the importance of Vander, and she also saw on Jinx and Vi's faces their anguish that he is gone, that the beast has taken over. And part of it, I think, is also to free Vander. I can protect all these people. I can protect Jinx. I can protect her sister Vi, and I can save Vander by ending this for him. I think that all played into it with her decision, which just shows how incredibly mature she was thinking at that point for being so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And everything that she does, it parallels Victor's words at the end when he talks about, the blade cuts both ways. That that was Caitlin's line earlier, but it every time they showed that spinning gear blade and the two sides of it, and he talks about the things that give us the most hope, or what we do the most evil things for, and we do our most highest things for. And Isha was that example, right? She was doing all this for love, things that ultimately turned out to potentially kill a lot of people.
Yeah, it could have killed a lot of people too. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know the aftermath. I mean, that's where the episode ended.
Right. Yeah. We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we just don't know.
There was an excellent video I saw too of someone. I mean, and all of us can see so many of the parallels of the big sister, little sister. But too, they also talked about some of the direct parallels of how, at the very beginning of the series in season 1, when they go on their little excursion to go steal stuff from what turns out to be Jace's lab and all, they're jumping from roof to roof, and Powder almost falls, and Vi is the one there to catch her, grab her arm, and she's about to fall off a roof after doing the jumping. And here in this one, as Isha's trying to run away, she's jumping across some pipes there, and she falls, but who is it that saves her and breaks her fall but Jinx? So Jinx is basically returning the favor in a visually similar way. And that's what this series so far has got so much stuff in it for rewatches and being able to see it through the eyes of other viewers who haven't, got to a certain point yet, because they have just thought out so much stuff, and then the human brain starts seeing other connections and parallels, and it just goes on and on. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and to me, Jinx views Isha as her baby sister, but Isha views her as her mother, very much the way Jinx viewed Silco as her father.
Yeah. See it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, Wendy, I mean, the visuals in that final scene, the flashbacks of them being together and of her, running through the carnage to get there and put the hex stones in to overload the weapon and look back at Jinx and give her the finger gun and all. I mean,
plus they had so many parallel moves between that scene and the fight prior with Jinx when she kept sliding underneath the enforcer, and she had the same moves going that Jinx had in a lot of ways. There was just so many lovely parallels to those characters. The other thing that I was thinking about was the Jace. So separating from the other thing I was thinking about was this show does a great job of bringing us that beautiful moment right before it all goes to hell. In season 1, we had the apparent truce that was going to happen on the bridge, but then we have the misunderstanding with Jinx about what is Caitlyn doing here, and that prompts the explosion. And then similarly in this little setup, we have Singed and Ambessa arriving and deciding they're going to try to make their moves, but at the same time Jace kills Victor, or whatever he did to Victor. I'm unclear if he's really going to be dead or not, because there is this timey-wimey element to all this stuff that's going on. But the show does a great job of lining those events up so that we see how close we were to getting the good thing, and then the devastation when it's all falls apart.
About the fate of Victor, but one thing that occurs to me is kind of a crazy theory time, I guess, maybe, but I think Victor had basically become part of the Hex Tech consciousness or whatever that realm is or whatever. And I think the body was a vessel, right? And so when the body seemingly is destroyed, that vessel was what was connected to everybody else. So that's why they all dropped. And that's also that vessel was what was connected to Vander and keeping, found his brain, and that's why he went crazy, or not crazy, but how he lost control, lost the battle again. But I think Victor himself, his consciousness still lives. And I was telling Kevin before we started recording that my crazy theory about the time travel thing, how Victor might be the mage that saves Jace and his mother in the past, might still be true. I mean, if he's living on in some other form.
Yeah, I do think that's a distinct possibility. Funny too, I saw the mentioned here to my co-hosts off recording here today that in trying to describe this show to folks, it's kind of hard because of it being so many different awesome things. And I saw someone who did an analysis video mention that the showrunners have in interviews referred to the show as Grimsicle, which is a combination of grim and whimsical. And I just thought, oh, there we go. That's what I needed. I needed that word to use when someone asked me, what kind of show is this? I just thought that was that. Yeah. I mean, it fits it so well. Because as you said, you're riding such a pendulum in all the directions. That, yeah, I mean, I when I finished episode 6 for the first time through, I literally just sat there for a while, just trying to process it, not only emotionally, but also with how much other high level stuff was thrown in between Jace and Victor and the impact on everyone. And, I don't even bother, because I know for me, to try to think about or figure out where we're going to go in the final set of episodes. But, I the reason on some of my ratings being slightly lower this time. It's just I shouldn't be, because these writers have proven how good they are at it, but I'm just a little worried that there is so much to try to, I won't say wrap up, but address or bring up in the last three, that, fingers crossed, it hits as it has on other episodes up till now. Because that was the only thing it seemed in these episodes where I wouldn't say I had negatives or disappointments. It's just, man, there was so much happening.
Well, even if they don't hit every base on the wrap up, I'm confident they're going to resolve the sisters' story sufficiently, and probably Caitlin too. Even if they don't get all the other pieces, that's my guess based on how well they've done in these first 6 for sure. I mentioned a couple of dings, and they're really around the same thing, which is I'm enjoying this a lot, but I have a lot of questions, and I hope we get some payoffs of those. The question I had for you guys was, Jace meets a little boy, and in his world, before he goes through the door and kills Victor. Any thoughts about who he is?
The little boy? Well, he's dead now. So, I don't know.
Because I was like, is he supposed to mean something? I was curious why he was there.
My only thought on that one was Jace was starting to lose it, I'm guessing homicidal, because he's seeing all of the folks who were touched by Victor in very weird images, and he just kind of like reacts, but it's a child. So is there still enough of Jace in there to not pull the trigger basically and kill a child? And apparently there was. But in terms of the child having certain significance, I didn't think that was the case, other than it was just a child who happened to be in his way.
Okay.
But maybe we'll be proven wrong. I mean, like, again, they've had so many other things that they've been able to bring to the story that I guess we'll have to see where those go. I mean, and hey, maybe go ahead, Wendy.
No, I was going to say, I'm also curious. We've got Mel kind of off in this separate storyline, which presumably now she can escape from wherever she's being captured, because she's pretty powerful. Hopefully, she's part of, what can heal them or put things back together.
Yeah, this is the series finale. So I think in the next 3 episodes, we've got to deal with Mel's mother and her army. And we've got to somehow rebuild and reunify. And we've got to have, my theory that Jinx is going to die is probably not going to happen. My prediction. She may be the one, hopefully they both survive. Hopefully all our head characters survive there. Meaning Jinx, Vi, and Caitlin. Sadly, Isha did not. But we've got to have that, I think, ending, because this is the series finale. This series is not going on. They're going to, as you said, I think, Kevin, I think you, or maybe Wendy, one of you mentioned, they've talked about additional shows coming up in the same universe, but this story is coming to an end. So,
Well, and I think it potentially could be set up with what's happened to have Jinx finally take that mantle of the hero and lead all the different factions.
The foreshadowing's there, the rebuilding.
We're gonna, but that could be interesting to kind of see, and also, I'm hoping they surprise us in the sense of that maybe the last 3 episodes are not only 40 minutes, and maybe there's a couple hour-long ones in here. Give us just a little more story for some of these other things that are very interesting to see.
If Jinx is going to be like the big hero and rebuild, she's got to get new pants. Those half-eaten carnival pants just aren't going to do it.
That might be part of it. Maybe she'll honor Isha in some way, and because that'll break me. I mean, if like her, she finds something back at her little lair that reminds her of her, and something that's just going to make for some quite emotional situations, but in a good way. I mean, this show has just done such a masterful job, and it's tough too as a viewer for me, because I'm holding it to such a high standard. Let's face it, almost any show even these small dings wouldn't even get mentioned, but these folks have proven to have the bar set so high.
You know how surprising it was to see Vi in the Enforcer uniform? You know how shocking it would be to see Jinx in like a business suit or something? Or a dress?
Something, I was going to say something other than what we've always seen her in since, episode 4 of season 1 when she, became Jinx. I mean, that's going to be interesting. And again, I want to give myself credit. The music choices for scenes, both fast-paced, fun, and somber. They're just great stuff's been in there. I've enjoyed a couple of like little music montages that they've thrown in. I've seen some folks not liking those too much in some of the reviews or reactions. Not hating on them, just like, no, we don't need that. No, maybe we don't need it, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. So keeping it very...
Yes. I've actually thought they've done a good job with that. Brent was talking about time passing to heal Vander and stuff. I think that's actually a good use of a montage, is to very quickly progress us through things that we need to know for the plot, but are not really that interesting or, they're repetitive. So I actually think they do a good job with their montages.
Absolutely.
Highlights, Kevin? Are we going there yet?
Brent, you go.
Oh,
sir.
Because we've touched on a lot of my highlights, obviously, but I just want to call out some. We didn't touch on this one, and I'm surprised we didn't touch on it when we were talking about the last episode. The point where Mel's mother's right-hand guy was about to kill Jinx, and Vander covers her, and then that line from him, "Don't touch my daughter." I love that so much. That's a big highlight.
That was really cool. And it was also gave me a smile shortly after when Caitlin realized that Jinx was there.
Yeah. That's another one of my highlights. Be careful.
Yeah. So that, still got to have that in here. Let's face it, she did kill her mom. So,
yeah. But I think she also realizes that things have changed.
Yeah. And that's what's great, too, about these characters. Not to take you off course from other highlights. It's just, I'm very much looking forward to a full series rewatch after we finish. I mean, maybe not right away, because there is going to be so much stuff back from season 1 and even early season 2 things. Once we see where everyone ends up at, it's just going to be so rewarding to get to see it again in little subtle things that you might not have picked up until later, because there's got to be a ton of them there that most of us as an average viewer just missed.
Your highlight, Kevin? Or was that it?
Just appreciating a show that can get me emotional in a totally happy, bawling way, and then less than an episode later, rip my heart out.
So the whole thing is your highlight. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, the range to be able to do that from literally one episode to the next episode. I mean, that's tip of the hat to like, wow. I mean, there are shows that can rip your heart out all along or make you happy all along, but man, to do both in such a short period of time, that's something.
Wendy, highlight?
Anything else? Yeah, we haven't touched on.
The only other one I would give, and it's kind of it's a highlight and a low light mixed together. Because when Victor's dying and he says, "I figured it out," I've solved this riddle, or I recognize this riddle. They did a great job with that spinning gear image that they kept placing throughout this episode, maybe even the prior one. But I was so deflated and sad by his conclusion. I was like, that's it? We're our human nature is that we're doomed to fail. So, and Kevin talked about how, I just watch the episodes. I don't take notes or anything. I just experience it. I was really depressed. I was like, what? I was like, that is not the note I expected to be left on. The whole destruction piece was really sad and disappointing, but it was really Victor's sort of deflated resignation about humanity that I wasn't expecting to have that kind of a note to be the ending of that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, for me too, though, on that, and we've all talked about it from storytelling, movie trilogies, Star Wars, fill in another one here. This second act is the one where they got to drag you down into the mud and then hopefully bring it back up. So to end on that note, yeah, certainly. Well, like I said, that's why I sat there kind of stunned, very honestly, when I finished the episode for so many reasons. But that's the thought to go out on. But it's also the one that from human nature, again, that idea of love can drive people in, polar opposite directions. And this is the chance maybe to see how good it could be if it's not, the road not taken with, the whole Noxan army and everything else. So, yeah, that was. But I'm also very curious if it's going to mean anything. That little gear thing was something that Jinx had. And it's got all the colors, like on one side, paint or whatever on one, and the other is totally devoid. So again, showing two different things, not only two sides, but two very different. Yeah. I'm just curious.
The color is the corruption. It was like the corruption that went onto the leaves and all that.
So it can look at the whole hex tech versus everything. So yeah, I don't know for. It's funny. I had flashbacks when on that. Not so much flashbacks, but when I was reflecting a little more on his line there and how much of a bummer it is to like the end of Battlestar Galactica. The human race. It's just they're doomed to do these same things. So with Victor having achieved some higher consciousness, I wonder if there's going to be a little of that in the next set of episodes. Like, time to hit a reset button. Give him another chance this time. I don't know. I'm not sure how out there or ethereal we might get in the last set, along with hopefully the sisters, having at least a somewhat positive ending to their story.
Happily ever after.
I don't think happily ever after. I don't think that would be a good Arcane finish, but you know what I'm saying? Well, we shall see that it's hopefully not tragic or
the ever after part is to be determined how much time that actually turns out to be.
Yeah, that could be. But,
I have a whole long list of highlights, Kevin. So,
oh Jesus, go ahead, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Since you two,
I thought we were covering a lot of them.
Well, some of them have been covered. I mean, I on my list was also that darkness revealing that embrace by embracing Vander thing. We talked about that. That's a highlight for me. And then Isha joining in on the hug. I love that so much. Caitlin and Jinx, right after you, Kevin, you talked about a highlight being, or an important moment being, when in the tent where Caitlin realizes that Jinx is there in the last episode. And my highlight is right after that, or soon after that, they're leaving the tent together, side by side, on the same side. There's no, Caitlin doesn't look like she's like, I want to kill you so bad. It's like they're together. They're fighting on the same side. I just love that. It was a big highlight for me. I love Jinx trying to flip Savika off and realizing her middle finger's gone in the first of these episodes. Vi and Jinx Powder speaking as sisters, like you talked about on the stone where they had their height measurements. They were just talking about they were sisters again, which was just a great highlight. And then you talked about Jinx talking to Isha about how she's basically grown since Isha came into her life. That's a highlight. That whole scene. And Wendy, I think you talked about the highlights and flashbacks of as Isha's running to do her sacrifice with all the stuff with her and Powder / Jinx. That was a great one. Vi almost choking Jinx to death, but then just can't do it again, is an interesting thing. She was really, she wanted to end her, but she couldn't. I love that bit. Isha crying when Jinx breaks her out of prison. You guys talked about that. And Jinx's response to that emotion. Jinx was also tearing up, which you don't see that often. Vi and Caitlin reunion. When Caitlin jumps on her, I talked about that a little bit. That's a highlight. And I talked about Vander naming Violet. That was on my list. The whole plot that Caitlin and Vi execute against Mel's mom, the whole plot is a highlight to me. I just love the slow-mo of getting ready to punch that net grenade or whatever it was. Loved all that. And then, of course, the whole Vander's crazy wolfman ravaging through the prison leading up to that moment where he says powder. That's on there. I'm going to finish it, though, by saying that I'm going to respect her statement that Jinx is dead, even though she later calls herself Jinx, but what's really telling is that in the story she calls herself Jinx, and the person she's telling is that she's Jinx doesn't believe she's Jinx. I'm going to start calling her Powder again because I think that's what she wants.
And on that note, again, another analysis one I watched that was interesting. They were looking at some parallels, and they had in season 1, at one point after Jinx had, I don't remember exactly what, she blew up or whatever, but Silco came in just screaming at her, and she got the music blaring, and she's creating her little butterfly things, and he just yells out Jinx, and she turns around with the big smile on her face. That's me, really enjoying it, living in the moment, and happy. And then in this set of episodes, when we get the introduction of Isha, and she falls down on Jinx, and then Jinx, quickly kills all 3 of the bad guys that were after her. And Isha looks over at the wall and sees all the posters and looks back at her. And Jinx just somberly says, yeah, that's me. So maybe each act this year, she's less and less with it, to where we'll see something of her, whether it's one of those posters or the mural, and she'll say it's not her anymore.
Yeah. Because this one, she starts out by saying Jinx is dead and talks about being Powder before. So this one's kind of, you're right. These 3 are kind of her in between the 2. She's nobody. She doesn't know who she is anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be very interesting. And again, just maybe the only other highlight, just to, again, reinforce, the voice acting from Ella Purnell, Haley Steinfeld. Man.
All of them.
No disrespect to any of the other ones, too, but those 2, man.
Everyone's.
Great
because
stuff.
of the emotional ranges and the changes they've all been going through. It's just fantastic.
Yes.
Anything else, folks? Otherwise,
Now I think we've covered every moment of every episode.
And we can't possibly predict. We don't know what's coming next.
No, it's going to be one hell of a ride. I will say that. One hell of a ride. So, well, we appreciate you folks giving us a watch here, either on YouTube or listening to the audio. We've been having a blast talking about these episodes. So sad it's going to be ending one more set as far as these characters go, but very excited to be looking forward to it. So thanks for checking in with us and giving a listen. And feel free to reach out and let us know your thoughts on our Discord that we have, or other contact methods too, because that makes for a good part of the fun, folks. We appreciate it. We hope you all take care.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Strap in for the end of this ride.
Catch you next time.
We'd love to hear our listeners voice thoughts and send us feedback. Call us at 706-927-8478. Stop by our tuningintoscifitv.com blog to record a SpeakPipe message, or check the show notes and leave us comments. From the blog, you can also find links to forum discussions and subscribe to our RSS feed. Call into our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Skype account and leave us a message. Be social with us on our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Facebook page, or follow us at Tuning Into Sci-Fi on Twitter.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV's Arcane Special, Episode 5, recorded November 18th, 2024.